Hello, my name is Ryan Milhollin. I'm an extension specialist with the University of Missouri Extension. I work in ag business and policy. Today I'll be talking to you. I got a short presentation to talk about budgeting for agricultural decision making. So I'll kind of walk through a few PowerPoint slides with you and kind of show you what I've put together today. One thing at the University of Missouri we do every year, we do enterprise budgets for lots of different commodities. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can take a look and kind of see some of the different enterprises that we do budgets for. We do beef enterprise budgets, so we do anything from cow-calf operations to heifer to, both northern and southern Missouri. We also do swine. We do dairy, both confinement and grazing models. We do sheep, goats, corn. We do both irrigated corn, dry land corn production. Soybean, wheat, sorghum, forages. We do several types of budgets, anything from alfalfa, establishment baleage to corn silage to hay production as well. In the last year, we've also added in enterprise budgets on industrial hemp. So we've got 4 different enterprise budgets there. These budgets, we usually update them every fall. Usually October, November is when we have them posted and updated on the website. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see a web address where you can go find all these different budgets. It's kind of a long URL, so I put both that web link, or a lot of people just tend to Google search or use a search utility, search for Missouri crop and livestock budgets. It will pull you to this page where you can find these. Next slide. I just want to kind of give you a little bit of background of what enterprise budgets are. Kind of explain what's in them, how we frame them, why use them. But enterprise budget's really just a breakdown. It's really just an estimate of cost and returns for a product or an enterprise. So a specific enterprise could be, a cow-calf operation for your farm. It could be corn. It could be soybeans. It could be lots of different livestock or crops. Why do people use enterprise budgets a lot? It's a really good planning tool for both looking at new ideas. So maybe it's an enterprise you've never done before, so you really want to kind of pencil it out and see how it looks for your operation. Or it could be things that you do, on a year-to-year basis, and you want to, compare corn and soybeans and look at each enterprise by itself to see, what the profitability looks like for the next year. Enterprise budgets do kind of provide the foundation or the basis for kind of the cash flow for the whole farm or the total farm plan. So that's where you can kind of, put together those different enterprises to understand, how does this look for my whole farming operation as well. And a lot of times lenders, if you're going for loans or, credit financing, they tend to ask for enterprise budgets or even cash flow statements to look at this as well. So it's a good tool that you can use to kind of support, working with your local banker. Kind of give you a little bit of background of, how's it kind of framed inside of an enterprise budget. The underlying formula for an enterprise budget is really revenue, minus cost equals really the return or the profitability for the enterprise. So revenue could be, for a cow-calf operation, it could be the selling of feeder calves. It could be the sales of some cull animals, those different types of revenue streams to all the costs that go into it as well. Enterprise budgets use kind of a constant base unit. A lot of times in crops, they're done on a per acre level. Sometimes in specialty crops, it may down even smaller units, maybe square footage or things like that. Livestock tend to be on a per head basis, so per cow, per animal, per pig. That's how they're kind of based on the cost per that unit. 2 types of costs we tend to frame in enterprise budgets. One's variable or operating cost. The other one's really known as kind of the fixed or the ownership or the overhead cost. And we'll talk a little bit more about those on the next few slides. Variable cost are expenses that vary with output within a production period or a year. For example, we've listed on these slides some different things for crops. It could be seeds, plants, fertilizers, fuel, different types of things that if you didn't plant the crop, you wouldn't have those sunk investments in those different types of inputs. Livestock, similar. It could be feed. It could be, vaccinations, herd health, hiring your veterinarian, things like that. as well. But those are just kind of some explanation of what a variable cost is and what the definition of it is. A fixed cost are those that do not vary with the level of output and really result from kind of owning the assets. Easiest way to think about it tends to be things like buildings, machinery, equipment. These are things that, once you made the investment, even if you didn't plant the crop or didn't have the animals, you still have that investment in that piece of equipment or machinery, or it could be irrigation equipment, different things like that are fixed. Sometimes labor can be fixed if you're paying somebody a salary and you're paying them regardless of what happens. It could be a fixed cost. Kind of the framing of the fixed cost, we tend to refer to them as the dirty five. Depreciation on the assets, interest on it, repairs, taxes, insurance. Those are the different types of things that will show up as a fixed cost. I just want to give you an example, and I know there's a lot to digest here, of just kind of what some of the budgets we do at the University of Missouri look like. On this slide, I've put Missouri corn, and this is for dry land production or no irrigation, planning budget for 2020. So these budgets would have been done back in, basically October or November for 2019. So we estimate what we think for the next year based on the available information at the time. Also on the right-hand side, I've shown an example of what a beef steer backgrounding looked like, a projected budget for 2020, both for winter backgrounding and also pasture backgrounding. And notice these units, the left-hand side, those are dollars per acre. On the right-hand side, these are per steer. And that's how we've kind of metriced them. And we've also got them framed kind of like we talked about, operating cost or variable cost, ownership cost, and try to show those information. The nice thing about it too is once you pull those together, you can actually look at it different units as well. So we also frame things down the bottom on a per bushel basis. So if it's easier for people to understand that, you can crunch the numbers and calculate that, or even per animal, or what's your break-even steer price per pound. You can look at units like that. So each budget has its own value of looking at things and helping people to understand what the cost of production is for their operation. Just some general tips. I know we come up with some enterprise budgets, but I would tell you those are just a starting point. Any farmer should do their own due diligence, modify the enterprise budget based on their situation, because everybody's situation is a little bit different. So, do your own due diligence, look at that, mock up your enterprise budget for your own farm. The next point I'd like to make is do a sensitivity analysis. And this is something we stress a lot with producers is, understand what is the impact of different types of changes on this enterprise to your profitability. So sometimes we'll run scenarios where we do 10 to 30% change in costs, both up and down, show what does that do to the overall enterprise. And the same thing for revenue. So maybe your selling prices weren't as high as what you have in your budget. What would be the impact to your bottom line dollar as well? So it's a good thing to do to kind of stress test your budgets to see how robust you are to changes in cost and selling prices as well. The last point I'd like to make is, kind of the capital efficiency. Think about making investments in things that reproduce or appreciate rather than things that rust, rot, or depreciate. So it's just making sure that any kind of fixed investments that you've made or into fixed costs and stuff are things that are truly valuable and really just the things that you truly need to do your enterprise as well to make it as efficient as possible. Last thing, if you have any questions, like I said, my name is Ryan Milhollin. There's my email address there, phone number as well. I've also put a URL on this to kind of where our agricultural business and policy extension website as well, and also our Facebook page. So just contact us if you have any questions or we can be of any other help. Thanks, and hope you have a great day.